There is a lack of political will to resolve the large influx of undocumented foreign nationals in the country. This is according to ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba, who launched his party's nationwide campaign to monitor the state of infrastructure at ports of entry. The campaign was launched at the Beit Bridge Border Post in Musina, Limpopo. The campaign will see Mashaba crisscross the country monitoring border posts.
One of South Africa's busiest ports of entry, surrounded by what looks like a garbage dumping site with minimal municipal refuse removal inside and a heavy stench of human waste. ActionSA's quest to monitor the state of infrastructure beyond this gate was, however, cut short, with authorities stating arrangements were not made for access into the national key point. The party believes if voted into power, they would strengthen the enforcement of immigration law to resolve the illegal border crossing at the country's porous border posts.
South African laws, as we speak, are sufficient enough to really deal with immigration in the country. That's the only thing we need to do is to follow the laws of our country, allow our criminal justice system to work. What we need as South Africa first is a political will. Secondly, we as ActionSA, we are saying we need to really be brutal to punish those who breach the laws of our country.
Local hawkers told Mashaba that they have been kicked out of participating in the local economy. We can no longer sell here. Only Zimbabwean nationals have stalls here. When we first got here, we were told what is now a marketplace is a resting bay for people who've just crossed the border. But now, Zimbabwean nationals have stalls there.
There
is too many Zimbabweans and a very few of us. Mashaba has promised that if voted into power, ActionSA would ensure that South African nationals are prioritized in the allocation of hawker stalls.
We are going to fight for this woman. It is her country. This is the only country she's got. Where must she go and sell in Zimbabwe or go and sell in Pakistan? How is she going to go to Pakistan or Nigeria or anywhere else in the world when her own country she's deprived of the opportunities and harassed for that matter?
Mashaba is expected to be on a campaign trail in Limpopo until Wednesday. He was flanked by the party's premier candidate, Kgosi Litsiri Patla, and local traditional leaders. Beman Baloi, SABC News at the Beit Bridge Border Post.
To tell us more about this campaign, we're now joined by ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba, and he joins us via our telephone lines. Mr. Mashaba, thank you so much for joining us here on SABC News this evening. Of course, we just saw there you launching that nationwide campaign and you choosing to visit Musina. Perhaps maybe tell us, what did you find on the day of the launch of your campaign in Musina?
Yes, good evening and thank you very much. Actually, it's really quite disturbing in the sense that what I found there was worse than I had actually imagined. I mean, we've always known our borders being porous, but I never thought they would be as porous to an extent I found them. With cameras not where the fence, you remember a few years ago, they spent money on fence is not working. In fact, going out on the site, they were 200-300 meters away from the actual border post itself. The people are just really crossing out there. They think it's actually quite cheaper and faster to really go through the illegal means than to really go through the normal channels.
And Mr. Mashaba, your stance when it comes to illegal foreign nationals hasn't really changed much since your time with the Democratic Alliance. So one would ask, why are you giving it so much attention?
Because, Bali, when these people come into our country from Pakistan, from everywhere else in the world, when they come into South Africa, you know where they go? They go to Haramutsi, they go to Alexander, they go to Soweto, Sandton and Otterkloof and all these areas. And unfortunately, they go in areas where our own people, 12 million of them are unemployed, they are losing their jobs, they are losing... I met women today, South Africans, who said they've really been running stalls there for years. Unfortunately, the last few years, on the South African side, have been taken over by foreign nationals. And now South Africans, they're making their lives actually very difficult for them to really operate. So, and this is the very same issue that I encountered when I was... where city stalls, the selling stalls, were actually run by foreign nationals. And when I raised this matter, that's when the people decided to unleash insults and so forth. And I can assure South Africa more than I was in 2016 when I took over as the mayor, because the extent of illegal immigration in this country, if we're not going to arrest it now, unfortunately, this country will one day collapse.
And Mr. Mashaba, one would say that, the issues you are raising here, these are the issues that law enforcement should be dealing with. And you are saying that there seems to be no political will, but the Home Affairs Minister would argue different and say, well, just a couple of months or weeks ago, they launched the Border Management Authority to try and deal with the very issue you're raising. Is that not so?
That is the biggest gimmick that the minister is actually playing. Because actually, I thought, I expected, actually warned the government of my visit there 3 days ago. Normally when you've got any situation like this with our government, they will try and cover up beforehand. I can tell you, it was worse than I ever thought. I have evidence. Fortunately, I was accompanied by a big contingent of media personnel who are witness to the story. When people and insult me, I've got witnesses of people in the interview. Some of these people coming into our country legally through this broken fence. So, having said that he's now introduced a new border management authority, I think it's just really a gimmick, like they always play gimmicks to us that they will fix ESCOM in 6 months. But every time they speak, actually things get worse in our country.
And Mr. Mashaba, when it comes to dealing with illegal foreign nationals, where does one really draw the line here when it comes to you raising the problems and the issues with illegal foreign nationals and for it becoming xenophobic, because these two go hand in hand. And as South Africa, we always raise this issue that we should always be very careful with, our rhetoric around such topics, because it can lead to some sort of xenophobic violence.
Look, any situation where you have a government that does not respect the rule of law, you run the risk of things getting out of hand. And I think what we are doing as ActionSA, led by me, it's actually to avoid exactly what you are talking about. Because if we put our heads in the sand, thinking that this problem will go away, it can only get worse, because it is getting... This is the matter. All of us as South Africans and people of the world, we need to discuss brutally, because it is affecting our poor communities. It does not really affect people living in affluent areas. So that is why people are quiet about this particular matter. And I can assure you, we are going to discuss it, whether people like it or not. South Africa is a sovereign country. We have the laws that governs immigration. South Africa was built at the back of migrants. People of the world to come here, but they must come here legally, and when they're here, they must respect our laws. If they don't respect our laws, no one is going to silence us.
And Mr. Mashaba, your campaign starting off in Limpopo, where to from here? I understand you'll be in Limpopo until Wednesday. Where else are you taking this campaign?
Well, this week, tomorrow, right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm in Thohoyandou in Venda. Tomorrow morning, I'm going a session with the local traditional leaders who are affected by this illegal issue, because there are some of the people who have asked me to do something about this because they're badly and negatively affected by this. So I'm giving them a report back tomorrow here in Thohoyandou, proceed over to Polokwane, and I'll finish off in Sekhukhune, mainly giving the feedback to traditional leaders who in their villages have got to really deal with this challenge. And in coming weeks, I will announce my next move, but it will be on the Mozambican side.
All right, Mr. Mashaba, thank you so much for your time. That is Herman Mashaba, the leader of the ActionSA party, just giving us insight there when it comes to his campaigning, or rather his campaign. He says it will be a nationwide campaign targeting the various border posts in the country. Let's take a quick ad break. We'll have more news for you when we return. Stay tuned to SABC News.